Good morning, Clearbranch kids. Today is the beginning of a brand new month, and that also means that it's the beginning of a whole new theme for us. And this month, we're going to be talking about things that are epic. And when you think about epic, sometimes you think about sweeping big movies or books, and a lot of times you think about love stories like the Titanic. Now, the love story that we're going to be talking about today, though, is not a true love story like that, not a romantic love story. We're talking about the epic love story of God for us. And that story is going to come to us through the actions of Jesus, but it really starts way back in the second book of the Bible called Exodus. And in that book of the Bible, God called Moses to him as Moses was leading the Israelites through the desert under God's direction. He asked Moses to come to him so that he could give some rules to his people, some instructions, if you will, for how to live. And Moses did that, and he took those rules, those laws, to the Israelites, and they started out with 10. And then, as time went on, there got to be as many as 613. And by the time that Jesus was around, there were even more than that, because the rulers had come up with extra rules to help the people follow the original rules better, which is just exhausting. It's hard for me to even talk about it. Can you imagine having to follow that many rules? Well, that's kind of where Jesus comes in, because God looked down and knew that there was no way that we could actually do this and still be blameless enough to be with him. And so he sent Jesus to save us. And when Jesus was here on earth and he began his ministry, people followed him everywhere, even though a lot of people weren't sure if they should believe that he was God's son, that he was the Messiah sent here to save them. There was something in their hearts that knew they needed to at least listen up, because he just might be telling the truth. So people followed him everywhere. And the things that Jesus taught, the things that Jesus did, were epic. They were revolutionary. He spent time with children who before wouldn't have been considered important enough. He asked women to follow him, who would have never normally been invited to take part in something like that. He took time to heal those who were sick. He spent time with people who were considered outcasts. So many things that Jesus did were just completely different from what they had ever seen. And what Jesus was modeling for us was the epic love that God has and wanted Jesus to show for all of his children. In fact, one day when Jesus was teaching, they were in the temple, and there was a man that had a really, an arm that needed to be healed. And so some of the leaders saw Jesus, and they called him over, and they said, "Hey, so this man needs to be healed, but it's Sunday. What does God say about working on a Sunday?" Now, Jesus knew that they were trying to trap him. They were constantly trying to trip him up and find something that they could find fault in so they could put him in jail and take him away so that he would stop taking away their power and their popularity with the people. So Jesus was very careful about what he said, and he told a story, and he summed it up then and said, there's always time to do something that's good. God always wants us to show love for one another, which of course is what Jesus was doing when he then healed that man on the Sabbath. Later on, another ruler asked Jesus what he thought was the most important commandment, hoping to trip him up, hoping that Jesus would pick one above the other, and so there would be people rebelling on either side. But Jesus was very careful. In the way that he summed up those things, he basically said, you need to love God and you need to love others. And if you're doing these two things, all of the other commandments would fall right in place. So again, he sidestepped the wrong answer, but very succinctly told the people what was important: love God and to love others. So, in doing this, Jesus was showing that it's important why we do something. God looks at our hearts and the why that we do something, not just our ability to follow rules. So if we truly love God and we truly love others, then all the other rules will fall into place. So guys, if you will love God, then you won't put other things in front of him. And if you love others, you won't be stealing or breaking promises that you've made. And it wasn't always easy for Jesus' followers then to do this. It's not always easy for us to do it now. But remember, guys, God can help us. All we have to do is ask Him. And if we do, if we rely on Him for that help, we can show God that we love Him by loving others and also by treating other people the way that they want to be treated. So I'll see you back next week for another epic story.